Yes! Come on, Mike, where do you want to get? All right. This will be the all-star row then, since you're sitting there. Okay, first of all, we need to do some housekeeping. Thank you, every single one of you, for coming. I really, honest to God, is my cloud score going to drop if I start crying here? Love you guys. Because how many sessions are there? 50 right now? So thank you guys for coming. Now, for those of you that have no earthly idea what we're going to do, we're going to do this crazy thing called talking to each other. So, well, that's probably out of the scope of this if you don't know how. So, can you do it on mobile? What? Do what on mobile? The mobile chat or Blogchat website. Yeah, if you do like a Twitter search for the hashtag Blogchat. You can't do it on mobile. Yeah, but you don't really need, that's what I was going to say, you don't really need to mess with it. Because we're not going to be doing this on Twitter, we're going to be doing it right in here. Oh, okay. We're going to actually talk. Yes, we're going to actually talk. I was not kidding about that. We are actually going to talk to each other. Yes. Now, okay, guys, we have got an hour here. So, what we're going to do is, we're going to have a discussion about the topic is how to create a blogging strategy. And then we're also going to talk about eventually, like when we've got like 20 minutes left, how to use social media to promote your blog, build your blog, etc. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw it out. We're going to have the conversation. If any of you know that you want to get on the microphone, if you may want to move right up here. If you don't, I'll run around and give you the mic, whatever. But that's all we're going to do. We're going to talk to each other. And you guys are mic'd up there on stage. Now, I like this. Do you like this? You walk in here and the guys, these are the audience members, they're up on stage. Like they're the stars. Because this is really, this is not a speaker session. This is an all of us session, you know? So thank you guys for coming. If it's not for you guys, we could not be doing an event like this. Thank you for Blog World for bringing us in. You guys are helping make this possible. So, let's have a discussion. And this is going to work exactly the way it does on Twitter. Because what happens on Twitter, we just bounce it around, point to point. Allison makes a point. Joseph adds something onto it. James brings it home for all of us. So, if you guys at any point have anything you want to add, whatever, jump right in. Now, the topic, how to build a blogging strategy. I think this is something that and I'm going to sit down because I'm getting in speaker mode and I don't want to be the speaker. I think something that we make it a little bit more difficult than it has to be, because I think that, come on in guys, I think that what happens is we make it too complicated, because I think that ultimately it's about figuring out what are we blogging for, what's the end goal. If you want to sell stuff, say you want to sell stuff. If you want to use it to connect with other people, whatever. But I think that needs to be the starting point, because once we get that starting point, then everything else, the strategy, will play into whatever that top goal is. For example, I don't want to talk about my own blog because I do that every time, but I've got a friend of mine that he's got a son, I think his 2-year-old son, got an extremely rare auditory condition. He can't hear, and he had several surgeries already to kind of put implants in, just nerve-wracking thing, and it's a very rare condition, and he's thinking that what he would like to do is, he's thinking about starting a blog, and his top goal for the blog would be to connect him with other parents that are going through this same situation, and them with him so they can share information. So that would be like his strategy is to use the blog as a connection tool with these other parents. So, and again, it can be something like that. It can be if you want to make money, whatever. But I think that what happens a lot of times is we kind of get off track because we say that our blog is built for one thing when it's not really. We say, oh, we want to have conversations with the customers when really we want to make money. So I think that if we start off with that right focus, then everything else kind of fits into place. So I'm just curious, how many of you, well, I'll tell you what, let's do this. How many of you are like solo freelancers working for yourself that have a blog? Does everybody in here have a blog? You don't? No, it's you're not going to get in trouble if you don't. It won't be you. Okay, that's fine. No. How many of you are writing for your company blog or your association, whatever? Now, those of you that have actually done this and actually worked on either your own or your company's strategy, how many of you have actually done that and tried to figure out why are we blogging, what's the actual goal, what are we trying to accomplish? Okay. No answer. Who had their hands up over here? Just curious. I'm going to pick on Tamsin because I love Tamsin. What? Just pick like if you've done multiple ones, just pick one, whichever one. But what was the process involved? I mean, how did you decide like this is what we're going to do? How did you just give us like a 30,000 foot, just real quick? It doesn't have to be complicated.
Well,
oh, wait a minute. Let me do.
We went through this at the company I used to work for, and I'm putting the same kind of process into place now. But it's basically to stop and do a lot of what you just said, which is to have people have an honest discussion about what is it that we're trying to accomplish. And so for the company I used to work for, where that got completed was really it was awareness building. And that was first. I mean, I believe wholeheartedly in fact you can't skip steps in that marketing process. I mean, you can't get to comprehension or trial until people know who you are. And so when I worked for the company I worked for before where I am now, it was really about awareness building. So just putting our thinking out there. So the idea was to put out frequent things on a number of different topics that related to the services that we offered. So it was a brand strategy firm that offered brand strategy, graphic design, and web development. And so we just made sure that there was a balance of topics that we were always putting out. The goal was 3 to 5 times a week on one of those 3 topics. So given that we wanted awareness, we basically said it doesn't really matter as long as it somehow ties back into one of those 3 things that we offer. And it was really about frequency and persistence on those 3 topics. So we created a posting schedule where we distributed who was responsible for the posts across the various teams. So we had about 16 people in the company, and we had about 10 of those were writers for the blog, and they were distributed equally from those 3 teams. So we had a rotating schedule of who wrote. And so by making sure that we had people on those teams writing on their own topics, we kind of made sure we touched those topics all the time. So it did work to get more awareness of what we did in that space. But I mean, it was when I left, that was the time it was really starting to need to change that strategy to do something else, because really it was just about let people know who we were.
Hey Tamsin, can you shout out your Twitter handle real quick?
It's at Tamadear,
Okay.
Tamadear.
I'm just curious. I don't want to. But is anybody in here that they're kind of like they're trying to figure out what the focus is of their blog, or how like they're looking for some direction or trying to figure out what is it they're trying to, I mean, yeah, come on in. Jessica. Hey. Hey, Marla. Oh, what?
Oh, yeah. So on my blog, my focus of my company is like events and event technology and a little bit of social media. But I end up tending to write about business stuff, and then I end up writing what I try to have as inspiring posts. And then I realize I kind of feel like they almost belong in a separate blog rather than on my business blog. But those are the ones that I feel most passionate about writing about. So I'm sort of struggling with that, because when I look at what the majority of them, they're focused, but they're not as focused on what I'm selling. That's where they're focused, but not on actually providing content to people who might want to buy from me.
Yeah. And because on my blog, it's a business development tool for me. I mean, ultimately, I'm not there to make friends, I'm there to make money. Now, that does not mean that I do not absolutely love the conversations. I try to cultivate those conversations, but at the end of the day, I do that because I've found that I know that that's going to help build awareness, which is going to help bring my name up. So I think you can do that stuff as long as you understand how it's going to fit into what the larger scheme / strategy is. And I think that's one of the areas where a lot of people, because they kind of lose that focus because they don't understand how what they're doing, if it actually fits into what they're trying to accomplish.
Trying to make it easier. No, I was just going to say that, that question comes up a lot because my blog is, pardon the term, a little bipolar in that, so I have a really strong category in, social media advice and brand experience and all this agency stuff. And I completely maintain all of my mom stuff and all my humor stuff and then my vintage stuff. So I've really come to terms with it, and I really try to explain to people that if you think of your blog more like a TV channel rather than a TV show, because those are terms we can understand, right? TV, right? TV? What is TV? But if you think of it in those terms, those posts actually act as programs. And so a good TV channel gives you a wide variety. And the other thing to think about is your blog, the reason people are reading a blog versus something else is they're looking for personality-driven content. So if your content reflects your personality, all the sides of you, some of it's inspirational, some of it's event chatter or whatever, then, that is totally organic and totally acceptable. I think too many people are trying to fight to be a completely clean category type. And then, you know what? Then that's not really a blog. That becomes a site. And therein lies the difference. You're stripping out the personality and the variety. So that's my 2 cents.
That is, and I think that... And I think that one of the things that a lot of people are struggling with is how do I create original content? And I think what happens is a lot of bloggers, they're not, confident enough in their own blogging voice to put their own spin out there and say, this is what I think, instead of saying, Chris Brogan and Tamadir just wrote this great post on blah, blah, blah. Go check it out, I want to hear what Bruce has got to say about it.
You do, are you sure? What I'm struggling with lately is the fact that I love to just speak from the heart a lot and write from the heart, and those are the posts that I often love the most. Yet 2 weeks ago I did a post about Occupy Wall Street, and I got 3 times as many hits and comments as I've ever gotten. And I know nothing about politics, but I just did it for the fun of it. And I found myself, challenged. Okay, so does that mean I need to either stretch my brand or not write from the heart? Because I write for 12 Most, and the one I loved the best was all about heart, and it got no comments. And then when I write, crazy things about promotional stunts or secrets from my showbiz career, I get tons of comments. So sometimes I find the challenge is to be honest and true to your heart and your intent. At the same time, then if you do the provocative stuff, you're going to get action. So.
By the way, have you guys noticed what's already happened? We're already getting off topic just like we do on Twitter. See, I told you it's going to be the same thing. Who cares? We're having a good discussion. That's all that matters. So, and but Bruce, I think that's kind of it's kind of a fine line to walk, because I think I totally get what you're saying about, hey, I wrote this new topic. I've suddenly got all this engagement. But are you getting engagement with your core audience? See? Because this is something I learned early on, and this is just a quick example, because in 2006, I think it was, I wrote something about the PlayStation 3, something about the launch. I have no idea. It sort of kind of had a social media element, and I was like, it's kind of cool. And I got a ton of hits because it got featured on Tech Meme. And I was like, oh, wow, awesome. I went from 200 hits today to 3,000. So I went and looked for another tech-centered story. And the next day, Tech Meme picked it up again. And I got another bump in traffic. And then after 2 or 3 days, I went back and looked. I had 0 comments. Because all these people were coming, spending 2 seconds there, and realizing, what the hell is this blog and getting out? So, hey, come on and get in, guys. Thanks for coming. So, yes, James.
So I can just use this mic.
Yeah, go ahead.
So would you say that it would be better to take the straight and narrow and try not to deviate too much from your chosen niche, or should you be like just almost have no niche and just be fluidic?
Hold on.
I would say C, somewhere in the middle. I think it's really, I mean, I talk a lot about how I think it's important to be, the best analogy I've found so far, the best metaphor I've found so far is about being a chameleon. So that the form and shape of who you are and what you talk about, what your main messages are solid and recognizable no matter where you are, but you're able to adapt based on the situation, on the audience you're talking to, whatever. I think it's super important that we add dimension to what we're talking about so that people can, the more dimensions that you show to who you are, what you're interested, what you offer from a business perspective, the more points of possible contact there are. If you're one-dimensional, you have a possibility of a one-to-one connection. The more dimensions you show, the more possibility of connections you show. At the same time, you need to make sure that that form and shape of who you are and what you're about stays solid. So I say be a chameleon. So that's my
Okay, wait. Hold that for a second. Is this on? Okay. Now, what about what about to James' point about should you be really niche and focused or really wide? What do you think about the idea that you can be really wide if you're like the first person to get there, and like build a name for yourself? Like, for example, Mashable can afford to be wider.
So, all right, so another theory of mine is that I think that there are subject matter experts and there are skill set experts. And I think it really depends. So I think there are some people who go really deep on a specific subject matter, and they bring all sorts of skills to bear on that particular subject matter. And then there are people who I think are really focused on skill set. So Mashable, in essence, is like a skill set expert, where they talk about a lot of things that are related. They are all related, but it's less about one specific topic and more about a number of things that are interrelated across. So I think it really depends on how you know whether you're deep or broad by nature, and I think there's value in each. And I think that as long as you have a clear sense of how all of that hangs together, I think you're in a really good spot. I think it's the people who are by nature subject matter experts and try to be the skill set, and they try to say, well, how do I add other things? Or the people who by nature feel like they're a skill set expert, and they feel like, well, I should focus on a subject matter. I simply don't agree, because I think that some people just have a natural bent one way or another, and there's absolute utility in both.
So it's kind of about going as wide as you're comfortable and your expertise allows you to go.
And finding the through. So whether or not you're a horizontal through line or a vertical.
Yep.
If I may then, so basically what you're saying is that you should choose between being the person that looks at something with a microscope and then somebody that is capable of looking at the big picture then. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's forest people and there's tree people, right? And people see that in forest tree makers. Mm-hmm. I think you're going to find audiences that are interested in both sides, because you have your own bias that way. There's audience members. Your audience members are going to have that same bias as well. Oh my God, my purple.
Yeah.
Well, that's what confused me, because some of these said you had a narrow focus, and I kind of have a little broader focus when I blog because I have a variety of interest. And so, I was hearing I'm doing it wrong, but actually I get a lot, if that's your interest. I mean, do you see that as a problem, doing a variety of things?
Okay, how many interests are we talking about? 1 or 50 or?
Well, it's a variety of different things, whatever I'm involved in, my interest, my own individual self, I'm interested in business, I'm interested in personal growth, I'm interested in parenting, I'm interested in education, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it sounds like if you're going in that many different directions, maybe what I would start doing is there a way that you can combine personal growth with business, parenting with business, and if not, if you're trying to diverge in 5 different directions at once, because I think what's going to happen is you're going to confuse the people that are reading your blog. They're not really sure what kind of blog you've got. So if they get confused, they're going to leave. This is sort of kind of like the debate over how many social networks can you be on. Twitter or Twitter and Facebook, Twitter, Facebook Plus, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, so it's the idea of stretching yourself too thin almost.
Well, I just talk about just different things on my blog. You're saying that they may not be interested in just all the things. You said be your own brand.
Yeah. Well, I mean, no, you can do that, but let's say, for example, that you know that you want to talk about personal growth sometimes. You want to talk about parent. What you might could do is say, every Wednesday, I'm writing about parenthood. Every Friday, I'm writing about personal growth. And that way, at least, your readers know that if you're writing a post on Wednesday, it's about parenthood. Friday is personal growth. So that kind of helps them. Because it's all about, if I come to your blog for the first time and I got there by completely accident, I've got you're going to have 3 seconds to gain my attention. I'm going to scan, what is this? So in those 3 seconds, you've got to tell me exactly what it is that you write about. And then I'm going to decide if that's something I'm interested in. So if I'm not into gardening, nah. But if I am, and you've got it clearly spelled out, and I can tell immediately that you're into gardening, whoa, I'm going to read your blog. But if you don't make that very, very clear to me, I may look at your blog, I don't know what this is, I'm moving on. Even though there was a connection there if I'd just known.
Yeah. Okay, I see. And how are you talking about finding it, on Twitter or just on the internet?
Well, I'm talking about you assuming that I'm just going to come straight to your blog. It doesn't matter how I got there. I'm saying that let's just assume everyone in this room just finds your blog by complete accident. I mean, if you go to my blog, it's helping companies. I don't even know what my tagline is. So helping companies, the social part of social media, something like that. But you can tell I'm a social media consultant. You can tell. Blah, 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 blah. Haven't updated in 3 years, by the way. It might be time for a refresh. But, I mean, you can immediately tell that, yeah, this is something I need, or no, God, no, not another social media expert blog, so no. So, but, I mean, you can clearly tell what's there, so you immediately know, okay, this is information I'm interested in, this is information I don't want any part of.
Blog, though, they read a number of them, make comments on a number of my of things, and saying they like it.
Yeah. So in that situation, they're exposed to you and they know what's going on. They know what your deal is. They know what you're into, so they know if there's a connection there or not.
Marilyn, what's your goal?
That's what I'm working on. That's what I'm working on, deciding on the goal of what I'm...
Then that's what I would suggest you spend your time with right now, getting really clear on what's the goal, making sure it's aligned with your purpose. Otherwise, you're spinning your wheels.
Yeah.
If you don't know where you want to go, anywhere will do.
Yeah.
I just want to share this because I had a personal blog for a long time before I ever really started blogging with a purpose. And Social Media Explorer became that purpose. And so it was really about building a platform for thought leadership and whatnot in social media marketing. And I kept that blog confined to that purpose. I still have my personal blog. And that's where I can use it as a creative outlet, a journal, post pictures of my kids, whatever I want to do. And I don't have any rules for that one. And so I think as bloggers or as writers or whatever you want to quantify or qualify yourself as, if you have that outlet where there are no rules and there doesn't have to be a purpose, it helps you get that sort of creative juice out and helps you feel like, hey, I've done some good writing today. I feel really good about this. I'm really happy with the creative product, whatever it is that makes you go. But then you've got that other blog where you're really focused on that purpose. And that can help you sort of do both, I think. By the way, my personal blog is fallsofftherocker.com.
No, and I like that because that's one of the things I'm running into is that I don't like to write personal posts, but every time I do, the readers seem to love it. But at the same time, my thought process is nobody cares about my crap, so I don't want to write that and put that out there. But you, with yours, you've got the perfect outlet. You can just shoot it right out there. Yes, sir.
We're creatures of familiarity. Just think of the last time you went to a fast food restaurant, whatever your fast food restaurant is, you know, and what you buy. Me, it's Taco Bell, number 7. soft to flour, Pepsi. It's a chicken quesadilla every time. We all do this. There's a reason 60 Minutes has had the same clock for over 25 years. You know what I mean? If you watch Seinfeld or any others, I love the TV show analogy earlier, is we're creatures of familiarity. So if you don't have some kind of focus, people aren't going to be attracted to it. And I love what you said, because, InvisiblePeople.tv is other people's stories, and then HardlyNormal.com is just my rants. It could be anything. And that has had focus, but it's always changed, and I don't have rules for it.
Twitter handle?
Hardly Normal.
That's what I thought. Okay. Thank you. Need 'em.
Just along, which this sort of parallels what I was saying about it's a TV channel, not a TV show. But I think we're applying all these rules like universally to all blogs. There are different kinds of blogs, right? And I can very easily bucket blogs into personality priority blogs. So the priority of that author and that creator is to express their personality. And that may mean that the personality is expressed in any damn topic they come across, right? And the topics are irrelevant, but it's what you're pushing forward is your viewpoint, your life point, your personality, like what you think on it. The other bucket is, and it sounds funny because they're both content, but that's really content driven. So it's how-tos and it's explanations and it's different kind of writing where the personality is not in the forefront. And that one tends to be more closely aggregated around a particular category. So I think if you really are pushing your personality, like this is how I see the world, you're almost unlimited in categories. But it does affect growth, community growth, and growing your audience. Because the more diverse you are, the more diverse community you're going to get, and it tends to be weaker and harder to grow. So that's the difference.
Microphone or recording.
Oh, sorry.
Ad talk, and you kind of you've come up with labels. So when she's talking, because she has like a parent blog, we're talking about her parents, and then all of a sudden she's talking about social media, and you're like, what? And like half the people don't know what social media is. So, but you did come up with your.
Yeah,
if you go to her site, you'll see it.
Right? So I have categories on my.
I don't work for Marcy Masura, by the way.
We all have categories on our blog, but I've sort of branded the categories separately. So I have Marcy Social, and anything uses that logo. You push that button, you get all of my Marcy Social categories. So I have readers that are only interested in that, period. And as soon as they see a picture of my kids, they're gone. And I'm okay with that, right? But I categorize things like really, like humor, vintage, with a button, with an image. I brand it separately. So that's something I do.
Okay, then, that's a great point. And I'm suddenly thinking now we're making more work for ourselves, if you think about it, because you've got the blogging strategy, you're trying to figure out what you're trying to accomplish, then who it is you're creating content for, and then also you got to figure out what type of tone is that content going, how much of your personality are you going to let through, and even how much are you comfortable letting through. And that's something that I struggle with myself, about how much, go ahead.
Well, I went to the one on a copy blogger, or Darren Ross was talking about pro blogger. He was saying that the ones that he really got a lot of comments and people really, and he was said to blog from your heart, that touched people, and that seemed to go over really well. And when he added that people really connected with him. So, that was his take on blogging.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. If you're willing to do that, and if it's authentic, and I think with Darren it pretty much is. The happy sofa.
My perspective on that are the things that actually make you different are the things that make you different. And so what happens is when you try to copy or when you try to compress or not include those things, those aspects of your personality, that just really just moves you right smack in the middle of the bell curve. If One of the things I like to say is that copies lose resolution. You know, if you're just copying what everybody else does, and you become this very washed out, shapeless version of something else, and that doesn't make you stand out. What makes you stand out is that kind of weird combination of things that you're interested in. And what your challenge is to figure out what all of our challenges is to figure out how do we make that hang together. Well, we make it hang together every day as people. So it really isn't that much of a stretch to figure out how do we make it hang together every day and how we express ourselves online. And so sometimes it helps to step back, to talk to somebody outside of yourself, to say, hey, how would you put all this together? But I believe wholeheartedly in saying it's, you know, put you in there because you're what's different. Everybody, you know, I mean, all of us can talk about some aspect of blogging or of social media or of whatever it is that we're focusing on. But what we bring to it, because we're different people, that's what's going to make it different. So to me, that's where it all comes down to.
I would say on the blogging from the heart thing, I mean, obviously Darren's absolutely right on that, but and keep in mind that I have obviously that separation of a professional blog and a personal blog, and I obviously blog from the heart a little bit more on the personal blog when I'm not trying to just be silly funny. But also too, when I bring that blog from the heart to the professional blog because I'm really passionate about what I'm writing about, and I can even and also good writing is good writing. And so if you're using a personal story to illustrate a professional point, those are the blog posts that blow up on Social Media Explorer. When I'm telling a story about my mom or my family and weaving it into the point of the marketing message that I'm trying to deliver there or the marketing help that I'm trying to deliver there, that's when I'm blogging from the heart on the professional side. So you can do it in both areas. You don't have to be confined to, you know, the sweet, sentimental blog from the heart on your personal blog. You can do it on your professional blog too. It's just weaving the story into the point that you're trying to make.
And you know what, Jason, I'm glad you brought that up because I don't think that that's confirmed to just blog posts because I know from the sessions here today, the presentations, the ones that I gravitate toward are the ones that have that stories that back up the points they're trying to make because that makes it, that's that reference point for us. Exactly. Yeah. Yep. One quick thing, if you do say something, please give us your Twitter handle before you make your point.
Hardly normal. I kind of go a little different because, well, first off, I'm a video blog. But I try not to market to myself. So when I'm interviewing a homeless person, and it might be a story that really reaches me, but then there's stories that really don't, but they might reach somebody else. And I'm trying to get people to have a personal connection. So often, like, you know, Kenneth Cole or Tyson Foods has often, you know, embedded my videos, and I want to contact them and go, no, I got better ones. But that reached that person. So, like, when somebody wants to use videos and say, can you pick some, I always say, no, pick your own. So I've actually taken an opposite stance, at least on that blog, and I know it's more unique being a video blog. I try to anti-brand it. You find very little Hardly Normal or Mark Horvath on my main blog because I don't want it to be about me. So I don't know how many people or what there are. What my goal, my strategy is perceptions. I want people to, you know, change. So I have to, as a rule, I put up 99% of the interviews, whether I like them or not, because I don't want to be the editorial person.
Okay, hold the mic for a second. Mark, I'm glad you said you're in the video because a lot of times that's one of the topics that always comes up on Blogchat. We want help with doing video blogging. Which one, I'm assuming you like video versus a blog post?
I hate to type. I spell neighbor N-A-B-O-R. You know what I mean? So video is just natural, except for, you know, the hair is never done. But
okay, never mind. You're probably not the version.
No, go ahead. What was the question? Well,
no, I was just going to want you to talk a little bit about how blog post versus video on a blog.
Well, you know,
advantages, disadvantages, that type of thing, real quickly.
Well, when Chris Brogan started introducing video and mixing it up, I think it's a little bit of both. Invisible People, when I first started embedding video, I didn't, you know, why it's dark is the text is just there for SEO so that people can find it. I wanted people to force them to watch the video.
Why don't you quickly tell about what Invisible People is? Just give us a look real
Well, it's invisiblepeople.tv is other people's, homeless people's stories. Except for the IRS, if you're a business and you don't listen to the people you serve, you go out of business. And in homeless services, we haven't listened to the people we serve. So I go around giving them a voice. They talk about the problems and the solutions. So early on, that was one of my mistakes in the strategy, and I'm currently trying to do a redesign. But I think in video, you can, written communication, you lose so much emotion that I think video helps you do that. Now, I'm an old school dinosaur television guy. So I originally went into video blogging by trying to produce it like I would a TV show. And it's completely different. You have to give up. You can't be perfect. In fact, that was one of the things, the mistake that I, by accident, I found authenticity replaces production value. So I'm Avid certified. I'm an award-winning television producer. But I did not have a computer that would allow me to edit video. So I wish I could tell you it was on purpose. So I just put the videos up there raw and unedited. I didn't think any of you guys would watch them. I was just trying to keep busy, but I did use some strategy and marketing skills. But that was the magic. People said, wow, these are real. There's no edit points. So, just pull out that flip camera, create content, learn as you go. Just make sure there's no broccoli between your teeth.
That's a good point, because like 4 years ago, I tried to do a podcast, and I got there. My plan was to do once a week, and I tried doing like 4 episodes, and it took me like 5 hours to edit because I was trying to edit out every so I couldn't do it. So you're just saying just jump in there, do it. If you screw it up, doesn't matter.
Yeah, just leave in. It's kind of a little bit of sidebar. YouTube gave me their homepage last year, and I allowed them to pick their videos because I didn't want to market to myself. But one video I did produce, it was 79 takes because now it's in my DNA. It's part of my rule that I do not edit videos. Oh my gosh, was I thinking that was dumb. Because, I would start the camera and somebody would, walk down the alley, or there would be a car horn, and I'm like, okay, take 47, let's edit, you know what I mean? So no, I leave in the mistakes. I think it makes it human. I think it makes it authentic, which as an old school television producer, I cringe. Oh my gosh, that's out of focus. There's a camera, there's a dog barking, whatever. Leave it in. It's real life. Makes it more human. Kind of what you were saying about,
Well, I would probably video blog more if I actually worked in an office and had to do my hair and put on makeup every day. That really stops me. But the ones that I tend to do are really the ones that are emotional, that I don't feel like I could write that passionately, versus just taking 30 seconds or a minute to just get my point across, especially where it might be something a little controversial, where I want people to actually see my face and see my personality that just might come across the wrong way if I'm typing it. And then those tend to get a ton of response.
Yeah, and who was it in one of the sessions they said sarcasm does not translate well in social media?
Oh my God. That would be awesome.
That would clear up a lot of controversy on the web,
Divine Miss M, DVINMSM. What Mark says, if he's the dinosaur, I'm the dinosaurette of television, and became a blogger 3 years ago and turned my back on video because I wanted to be a writer, a real writer again. And I had been writing on-air promotion copy of 30 seconds in length, which meant it was only about a line of copy, and then the rest were sound bites, usually inane, just to make people laugh. So my first blog post was about 1,200 or 1,500 words, which I didn't know was not done. It should have been a 5 or 10-part series. But
it was supposed to be 3 short paragraphs. That's what I heard in 2005, and that took my first blog post, took 4 days to write, because I spent 3.5 days figuring out how the hell to boil this down into 3 succinct paragraphs, and then finally said screw it and wrote the damn thing in 15 minutes, and it was probably one of the best posts I've ever written.
Yeah, it's a great magazine article, and it probably should be cut down, and it's a very heartfelt piece because it did come from the heart about my son leaving, and wanting me to come and help him, and he's never asked me to help. You know, he was 20 at the time or whatever. But the point is, video is a good shortcut. And yesterday when I spoke, here's a perfect analogy. You can, you know, be a boating enthusiast and take a beautiful picture of a sunset of a boat that you're admiring and talk about it and describe it and give your feeling and emotion, and everybody can sort of share that with you. But even if you went and took your phone and went to the harbor and you heard the birds chirping and you heard a little dinghy going in the background and you saw the water shimmering, and if it was just 10 more seconds, you're sharing that additional element with people that they can almost see it like you, and then you also give it that, it's sort of like, it is rich content. I mean, that's to me the real rich content. So I went back more to video now because I was much more of a visual teller. And much like Mark, it's hard for me to write a lot now, and I can shortcut a lot of things. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think something, and this kind of, while I was listening to you say that, this kind of reminded me of something that I think a lot of companies, what they're struggling with is how to get their internal subject matter experts involved in the process of their blogging. And a lot of times they go and they try to prod them, hey, would you please write a blog, blah, blah, blah. And they don't consider this may be somebody that doesn't have the time to write a blog post, but would make the time to go on video or to do a short podcast. So if that's something I think you consider. If you're trying to get your subject matter experts activated in your company, give them an option of doing different types of content to create and see if they like anything other than just a blog post.
Hi, I'm Allison_Boyer. I think it's about knowing what you're good at and what you like to do. I went to Blog World last year, and everyone's like, you have to do video. No one's doing video, and if you add video to your blog, it's going to be great. I did it. I hate doing video. I suck at it. I'm horrible. I hate that you're all staring at me right now, but I had to say it. I'm bad at it. I'm a writer, so I write. And a good example is Pace and Kylie, if you all know them from Connection Revolution. Pace does videos, and she's great at them. Kylie makes me cry regularly with her writing. So I think, if you're not good at video, don't do it. Because it hurt my blog. I had it up for like a week and I took it down because it was embarrassing. I was like, who wants to watch this? No one. But I can get my point across in a really emotional way, a really heartfelt way. But I can do it with writing. So I think it's about knowing what you're good at and what you're passionate about. Because one of the problems was you could tell in the video that I was super nervous and I hated doing it. So I think that's why it didn't connect with people, whereas with my writing I'm more comfortable and that connects with people. So know what you're good at.
I think too, a lot of times when somebody say you have to do something in social media one particular way, what they mean is that's the way that worked for me, so I assume that it works the same way for everyone else. So
the best people in the world, the best bloggers in the world are people who are doing something completely different. You don't be an A-list blogger by doing something everyone else is doing. You make your own rules. Like you were talking about, should I have a blog about a specific subject or should I just blog about anything? Look at the blogess. Like, you all know her. She's like every single post she writes gets like 1 million comments, and she talks about nothing. She talks about her life, So she's making her own rules and it's working for her. So don't do that.
Hello, I'm Web Success. And I'm ready? Yeah? Okay.
Okay, Twitter handle again?
Yeah, hello, can you hear me? Yeah. I'm Web Success, and you're probably going to throw me out of here, but I have 1 trillion ideas, and I can't write. I was educated in French, and I don't think I can spell in English. So I do... No, but I really can't spell. So what I do is I blog about experiences in the business world, particularly a lot of small businesses out there. And I have a couple of ghostwriters help me put it in English so people can understand what I'm saying. And I circulate our blog mostly on LinkedIn. And I'm always looking for contributors. And just like you, I'm terribly embarrassed at talking to you, but I'm here to get some ideas and some contributors. So thank you very much for listening.
and I don't think you should worry about attention, and sometimes misspelling a word. I'm from the South. I make up words. You would not believe how many times someone has emailed me and told me that fixin', might, could, do not exist, and I was like, yes, they exist on my blog.
Thanks, Nick. I'm Small Biz Trends on Twitter, and hey. So a couple of people have talked here about, what is the purpose that you're doing video for? And, there are times when video can be, I think, really, really good, like in certain business topics. But we found, like on some of my sites, that a lot of video isn't that popular. If you're trying to give like business tips or something, we found that people prefer to read because you can read faster. You can skim that faster. And it takes too long to watch a video for somebody giving you some business tips. On the other hand, if you're doing an interview of somebody where the personal comes through, then podcasting, I mean, we've done a podcast for 5 years now, every week. And we violate all the rules there. We do a half-hour podcast where everybody says you should do 5 minutes or something like that. But you can't ask enough questions. You can't get into a subject enough in 5 minutes. You need more time. So we find 25, 30 minutes really works. But the interviews, I think you really have to, look at those as something that works when you're getting the live voice of someone. And there are other situations where video, I think, really works, but sometimes it just doesn't work. And we've proven that, that you can't give business advice a lot of times in a video. It's just an excruciating experience for people.
Just a quick comment on that. Aviva CF in Canada, I was at an event of theirs, and they had videos. They walked around with like 50 iPads and were distributing them around to have people watch it. It was a great idea. It utterly failed because the sound wasn't loud enough and the room was too noisy. So they learned from that, and they're coming out and actually giving people headsets the next time. But the video was very powerful. It would have worked great had they, thought that through a little bit more. So it's possible if you got the money, hand out a bunch of iPads with the video on it.
Just going ahead and say something really quick. My handle is JT by the way. Just wanted to say something on what, I'm sorry, I forgot your real name, so I'm just going to say Small Biz Trends was saying. I think that the ideal way to deal with video is to have at least a summary as well, because for me, I have DSL internet, but the thing is, it's just, if you get what I mean. I don't want to say anything that I might regret since we're being recorded, but while the video is taking so horribly slow to load, I can look at the summary so I can see, okay, I see what's going on. Even better is to have a transcript. That way, if the video just completely fails on me, I still learn what's going on. Because if the video fails on me, then I'm just going to walk away. As much as I don't want to, what's the point if I can't do it?
Shri_W. I'm having kind of an identity crisis with my blog. I originally started with life on the farm, thoughts from me, no big deal. Then I added social media, but then I decided to make a social media blog. Then I added writing. Now I have a writing blog. Put the social media back on my personal blog.
Speak into the mic, please. Speak into the mic, please.
I'm not speaking into the mic. Okay. In any case, I really... You're good. I don't do this well. I really don't know how to... I don't want 50 blogs. I really don't. I want to be able to go to 2 places, one for my fiction and one from life and social media as I see it, but I don't know how to mesh it, make it work. Help. I have an identity crisis.
Okay. I think Okay.
It's all from my point of view. I'm not teaching anything. I'm not saying I'm an expert on anything. It's just all from my point of view.
Well, I mean, yeah, if you're trying to write about too many topics, you're going to have to prioritize what's most important for me to talk about. Maybe start out with, like, if you're literally going for like dozens of different topics, maybe you could start out with, okay, these are my top 5, and then see if you can handle top 5. If you can't, go down to top 3 or whatever. But the problem is, I think, too, is you're going to stretch yourself too thin, and you're going to be blogging about everything, and nothing's going to gain traction, and you're going to lose passion for the entire concept of blogging, I think. So it might be better for you to just really like pick your favorite topic, run with it, try to focus on that, see what happens, see what you learn, and then if you want to maybe roll off and do another one based on your second favorite topic. But if you're doing 50 at once, I'm afraid that not only are you going to make it tough for your readers to connect with you, you're also going to lose interest in it.
One of the things I suggest is stop thinking about what you should do and look at what you do. Meaning, look at what you most often write about and which are the posts that you most enjoy writing, and focus on that. And I think a lot of times when we start getting ourselves into identity crisis, because there's a gap between what we want to do and what we think we should do. Because either other people have said that there's some rule about this or that something, I mean, and a lot of times it's just say, stop, look at what you've been doing. What are you passionate about? And write about that, and don't worry about it, because it will come together. It will. Have faith in that. Because, like I said before, it comes together in you as a person. It will come together in you and whatever online presence that you put out there. And the more that we stress about how to make it come together, that's where we create that gap where it stops feeling authentic. It stops feeling like a real person and starts feeling like a construct. So if it is from your point of view, just let it be from you, and it'll figure itself out.
And then, too, if you're not writing with passion, readers are going to pick up on that, and they're going to pick up on the fact that it's not, your heart's not in it. That's all I want to add. Go, Jeff.
I would just add to that, when I heard you talk, and I heard you basically carve out 3 basic subjects. You had writing, you had social media, and you had farm life. Is that right? Okay. Exactly. So thought from the farms and life, and so you've got 3 topics there. In my personal experience, you can have a really perfectly good one singular personal blog that has 3 basic categories: thoughts from the farm, writing, and social media. And they're all there. And the audience that you build, if you're passionate about those 3 things, they're going to gravitate to you because the 1, 2, or all 3 of those things appeal to them. And so then you're going to carve out the audience you really want. It's people that want to read the subjects that you're writing about, who identify with you, and that's really the audience that's going to make you happy in the long term. If you look at it, and this is a little bit of a bad example, but it's also, I think, a good example too in ways. My blog, Social Media Explorer, has 6 primary topics, and they range from advertising to social media to search engine optimization. I'm not an SEO expert, but I write about that from time to time. There are SEO people who read my blog for my perspective, knowing that I'm not an expert. Doesn't mean I'm going to separate out and have a separate SEO blog. I don't think I would ever do that, because that would just fracture my attention and frustrate me. And so I think you've got 3 really good topics that, from a creative aesthetic standpoint, can be woven together quite nicely, frankly.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'd like to add to that, at Prosperity Gal, one of the things that I've learned over the years that I've blogged is I started off in one direction, and I had to be willing to allow myself to evolve as I continued to write, because that was what was being birthed. So being able to lean into that uncertainty and allow it to come out, then what happens is as it comes out, you go, oh, and then you're able to put form and structure around it.
Okay, first, we've got like 2 minutes left, so if there's anybody that's been wanting to get a question in, now's your chance. Dun, 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 dun. Okay.
Amy has one.
There you go. Thank you for taking me up on my gracious offer.
How do we win the free iPad?
Yeah, we've been talking all about it since you've been busy.
I'm totally joking. You're missing the tweet stream.
Missing the tweet stream.
Don't mess with Matt.
That's because I'm concentrating on you. See, I had a point to make, and you totally sidetracked me because I thought I was about to shell out for an iPad or something here. Was there somebody over here? Yeah, I can see that.
I told you, friend of Jackie's, remember? Told you.
Sunday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. Why don't we quickly, I tell you what we can do. Why don't we pass the mic around, everybody share their Twitter handle quickly.
Rick Dragon, at Rick Dragon.
Amy Higgins, at Amy W. Higgins.
Linda Sherman, at Kawaii Talk, at Boomer Tech Talk.
Ray Gordon, Ray J. Gordon.
Jackie Shelley, Jackie Nessity.
Amy Kramer, at Amy Kramer with a K.
Marla Schulman, at Divine Miss M, DVIN, MSM, and at Life After Kids TV.
And hello everyone, my name is Jason Haug, and I'm Jason Approach You.
Renee Martinez, and I'm at Ruby Markham, and I'm also at Mom Raising Boys.
Mila Arojo, and I'm at Mila's page.
I'm Marilyn Hyde, at Marilyn Hyde.
At Jeanette Cotichas, and my name is Jeanette.
Dell Williams, at Dell Williams.
I'm Julia Cantor, at Julia Cantor.
I'm Anita Campbell at Small Biz Trends and also at Biz Sugar.
Marcy Masura at Marcy Masura.
Suze Broughton at Suze Broughton.
Janet Speyer, Janette, Janet at websuccessteam.com.
Hello, Shirley Bobshaw at Eden Maker, at Garden World Report, at Garden Center TV, at Foodie Gardeners. And yes, I'm all about gardening.
I'm Christy Hines at Kiko Lani.
I'm Eric Berto, at Geek Giant.
Geek Giant.
I'm Damn Handsome. I'm at Jason Falls.
I'm Tamsin McMahon at Tamadeer and occasionally at A-G. Occasionally at Alan Garrettson, excuse me.
Judy Helfand at Judy Helfand. You see, I've been looking for you for 2 days, and Christy Hines. Yeah. And Christy's here from Phoenix, right? And I'm from Tucson, so.
I'm Allison Boyer at Allison_Boyer.
Amber Venus at Words Done Right.
Mark Horvath at Hardly Normal. If I get too chatty for you, go over to Hardly Normal Light. We call invisible people.
Cherie Worrell at Cherie_W.
Guys, thank you so much for coming. I cannot express how happy I am that you guys came. Thank you so much.